within dry fire version 4, there's two modes of operation that you can choose. One is called target comes to you, and the other is called move around the room. In target comes to you, you actually choose to stand in one position, and then dry fire will present the targets on the wall as though you actually were moving around the room, moving from station to station, although you're fixed in that one spot. So that's one version that you can choose. The other mode of operation is called move around the room, and it describes it very accurately. You actually move from station to station. So for instance, if you're shooting trap singles, caps, or doubles, you will move from station 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll actually physically move in the room, and the targets, of course, will be accurate based on the position that you're actually standing in the room. Now, within trap discipline only, then we've got two different selections for you to make, and they're prioritized by this. One is called target accuracy, and the other one is called fixed anchor point. Target accuracy, if you choose that mode, it references your shooter information table and how tall you are, and every time it throws a target for you, the target will launch on the wall based on your height. And so that is one way that you could choose it. Another option that you have within this is called fixed anchor point. And what that is this is where the target will launch from the top of the trap house regardless of how tall you are, or whether you're shooting handicap targets or singles. We do this because in a team environment or a youth team where you've got different people with different heights, it just is a little more of a fluid and natural practice experience if all the targets launch from the top of the house. And so those are kind of the basics. And so now I'm going to ask Bob a little bit about behind the scenes, explain a little bit more within the trap world only the difference between fixed anchor point and target accuracy.
Okay, basically, when you choose target accuracy, you're very specifically involved with, you want to make sure that the trajectory on the wall is vertically positioned on the wall so that it matches the person's height and the distance that they're standing from the trap house. Because those are two factors that can cause that to change. The taller you are, the higher you see the horizon, and we continually tell people and talk about the fact that everybody sees the horizon at exactly their eyeball height. So when we put a target on the wall, if we're totally concerned with the accuracy, not only horizontally how it flies, but vertically where it starts, then by picking that mode, we will start the target on the wall based upon exactly your height and what distance you're standing from the trap house. But now think for a moment, what would happen if you then got into squatting software and you had a person who was 5'2", another one who was 6'4", and then you complicate that by some people want to be practicing their handicap distance while somebody else is wanting to do their 16-yard targets. Now you've got this multiplicity of all different vertical heights, and so it's impossible to put the trap house on the wall so that it makes sense to anybody. So when we were in the process of thinking about version 4, we decided to tackle that particular issue because it had been coming up back when we had version 3. So what we decided was we were going to have a special mode in trap shooting whereby those vertical takeoff points for a given trajectory would all remain the same. So they would be associated with the anchor point. And of course that makes a really nice situation because now that means that in a squad we can have short people, tall people, people at their 16-yard targets, somebody at 27 yards, and when they call for a target it still starts at the top of the roof. And so that's the reasons why we put those two particular modes in there for the trap shooting discipline itself.
And within the, obviously for target accuracy, that's actually absolutely spot on as far as where the launch points should be. With the fixed anchor point, which we generally find to be the most accepted and what people really like the most, are we talking much of a difference here as far as accuracy? And if so, and what is the difference? The assumption is it's not quite as accurate. How much is it off from perfect, and what is a little bit different?
I know what you're asking because I get this question many times over the telephone. So I verbally try and explain it this way, but since we have some cameras going here, I'll try and actually get a little bit closer. let's stand, for instance, suppose that you're standing on the side of a person and they've got their gun mounted, such as I'm doing right now. Okay, now, if the tip of my gun were exactly where it would be in the real world, okay, and that's where the accurate release points would be, and then you compromise in the other system where you make everybody's release point the same. For a tall person, that would mean that their gun is pointed down angle just slightly. Or for a short person, it might be up angle just slightly. And now I let you answer the question. If you yourself were practicing indoors, and as an example, your gun barrel is going to start out 3 degrees lower than it really does outdoors.
Right.
Is that an issue for you?
Right.
Or is that not an issue? And I find that there are people that that's an issue for, in which case then you want to go to the prioritized accuracy method. But you'll probably end up then practicing as an individual where there isn't going to be a change from shooter to shooter. But I also find out that the majority of the people say, well, that's not a very big deal.
Right. And in worst case scenario, let's say you did have someone who's 6'4" and you have someone who's 5'2", all in the same squad. The people that are in the middle range, maybe the people that are 5'6" to 6'2", their guns are going to be perfect. Yeah. It's just the high end, taller people and the people who are the shortest are going to see the most difference. But even at that, we're talking maybe half the width of the diameter of a barrel on your hold point out at the end of your gun. So we're talking very minor differences. But because we always want to be accurate and tell the truth about what the dry fire does and doesn't do, we've divided it as target accuracy, which is 100% spot on, and this alignment or the
anchor alignment.
Fixed anchor alignment, where it's just slightly off, but we're up front with it and tell you here's the trade-offs.
Exactly. Yeah. So we feel that version 4 has really covered this subject in a very thorough way. So you have two choices. You can make it spot on accurate for yourself, but that probably means that you're not going to be shooting in a squad unless you have all the squad members are the same height. Okay, and so you have the two choices, and we think that gives you the options that you really need.
Very good. So this is a conversation a little bit behind the scenes for you to understand what the two different versions are, the benefits of either one, and hopefully it'll help you make a decision on what works best for you.
Now let's go ahead and take a brief look inside the dry fire software and show you exactly where this room mode controls are located. I'm going to start by going to File in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to come down and click on Layouts. And then in the Layout dialog box that opens, I'm going to go ahead and click on Skeet American All Targets. Now what I'd like to show you with the Skeet layout is there are only two modes of operation for Skeet. So let's go ahead and go here to Configure Room Mode and Anchor Points and click on that. And then notice here as we move over to the Configure Room dialog box that here we have the window in which the room modes are defined. And if I click inside that window, it shows me that there are two choices for this Skeet layout. Either I can use Move Around the Room, or I can use Target Comes to Shooter. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this dialog box out, and now I'm going to go back and take a look at one of the trap layouts. And if we go back up to File in the upper left-hand corner, come down to Layouts, and then in the Layout dialog box that opens, I'm going to go ahead and pick on Trap American Fixed. And now with this layout in the system, I'm going to go over again and click on Configure Room Mode and Anchor Points. And now again coming back to the Configure Room dialog box, I'm now going to investigate for this trap layout, is there another mode? And so when I click and open that up, I see that there are two modes for Move Around the Room. One, as we've described, is the Prioritized Target Accuracy, which is the mode in which the target starts on the wall based upon your height and also based upon your handicap distance. Then the second mode, which we've also talked about, is move around the room prioritized anchor alignment. And this is the mode that I suggest in 6 Steps to Trap Shooting so that it isn't quite so difficult for you to get the trap house on the wall at the right spot for everybody. So this is the one where we can find the starting point, the verticalness of each target to the top roof of the trap house, and we temporarily ignore the height of the shooter and the handicap distance. And this becomes a very valuable mode then when you're shooting in a squad. And then, of course, it also has the choice of target comes to shooter, which we do not recommend for trap shooting. All right, that pretty much completes, and it's that simple. The only place that you have to be concerned about the room mode is here by going to Configure Room Mode and Anchor Points. And then when you open up the Configure Room dialog box, you immediately want to go to this window up here and make your choice for that particular layout.